many people strive to bring peace to this world. Three of those people were Mother Teresa, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King. Mother Teresa knew at an early age that she was to serve God and serve the people of the world. Gandhi wouldn't rest until a nation he loved was a free one. And Martin Luther King had a dream that he was determined to see a reality. All three of them shared a common creed. An eye for an eye would leave the whole world blind. Let's start with Gandhi. Gandhi was born into an upper-class Indian family. He was educated in London, where he received a degree in law. After receiving this degree, he moved to South Africa. It was in South Africa that he witnessed the injustice to the Indian citizens. They were treated like second-class citizens. He made it his goal to have equal rights for Indians in South Africa. After being in prison many times and spending 20 years fighting for their rights, he left South Africa with a government that conceded to giving Indian citizens equal rights. It was after World War I that he returned to India. In India, he decided he wanted to free India from Great Britain and make it an independent nation. He encouraged the citizens of India to have economic independence. This included boycotting anything made by Britain. He also used different forms of passive resistance, as in fasting. He had such a huge spiritual and political hold over India that when Gandhi would fast, the nation would listen. Great Britain was aware of this. By the end of his time in India, India was a free nation. When he was assassinated, it was felt worldwide. His effect was historical and inspiring. Gandhi always lived by, be the change that you want to see in the world, and that's exactly what he was. Next is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa said she felt the call of God at age 12. At age 18, she left her home to pursue a life with God and became a nun. At 28, she was teaching in Calcutta, and she noticed the slums and the poor were uncared for. She asked permission to help out. She was granted that permission. She worked in the streets with no funding. People would volunteer their time and money. At the age of 40, she asked to have her own order and was granted that wish. It was called the Missionaries of Charity. The Missionaries of Charity's code was to love and care for those that nobody else was prepared to care for. Pope John Paul VI declared her Missionaries of Charity an international religion family. In 1979, she won the Nobel Peace Prize for her work in Calcutta. At the time of her death, Mother Teresa had 4,000 sisters, an associated brotherhood of 300 members, over 100,000 volunteers, and 610 missionaries that were stationed in 123 countries. Of all these 610 missionaries, they included homes and hospices for people with HIV, AIDS, leprosy, tuberculosis. They included centers for children and family counseling, orphanages, soup kitchens, and schools, all of which are still in existence today. The final person is probably the most famous, Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was born into a family of ministers. He witnessed at an early age the effects of segregation. He went on to a seminary school to pursue degrees in theology and philosophy. He went to pursue his doctorate in theology at Boston College. It was here that he studied the great workings of Gandhi and the effects of passive resistance. When he came out of Boston College, he founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and was made president. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference helps do all the sit-ins and freedom rides. Sit-ins in the cafes where they would have the blacks sit in and say that you need to feed us. Just because we're not white, we are still on service. And with the freedom rides on the buses, where they refused to give up their seats to the white people. Even though his protests were peaceful, people were still arrested. Martin Luther King himself was arrested over 30 times. His most famous feat was the March on Washington, where they marched from Washington Memorial to Lincoln Memorial. He had 200,000 people marching with him. Martin Luther King won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. He was assassinated before he could see the country free from segregation, but it was due to his efforts that we live in a nation today that is not segregated. His birthday was made into a national holiday. All three of these people have taught us that the best way is the peaceful way. Gandhi first taught us that you don't need violence to move mountains. Mother Teresa cared for those the world had forgotten and dedicated her life to God. And Martin Luther King gave a voice to those who were not heard and fought for equal rights for all. The quote I'm going to close with is one from Martin Luther King. It's an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity.